Today we're talking about leveraging the data that's in your business. We're exposed that for you on your dashboard. We added those, and a lot of you guys saw it and said, "Hey, that's neat. I didn't know that that's what some of my numbers were." And maybe that was all the thought you gave it, maybe not. But if it was, we're here to kind of talk about what else you can do with those numbers, how you can leverage them, and how to be thinking about it. So today, we got your hosts, Herb with 26 years of experience in the industry. You have myself. I've got 15 years of experience. You've got Shae, 10 years of experience. We definitely have been around the block and been in this business for a while. Seen some things. Throughout the webinar, Shae will be grabbing any questions that you guys have real time, or at least grabbing them and making a note of, hey, that'd be a good one to answer on live on the air. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the question box down at the bottom of Zoom to be able to put those in, and Shae either write back real time or we'll save them up and speak to them at the end. We should have some good time left for some Q&A today. Herb, you want to talk a little bit more? I know I gave kind of a little bit of an intro, but why don't you talk a little bit more about what we're doing here today?
Yeah, so it's a fascinating thing. We've been in, as you mentioned, Ian, we've been in this business for a very, very long time. And along the way, we've gotten to know a lot of businesses, a lot of real estate photography businesses. We've made a lot of friends in the process. And as we've gotten to know those businesses, we've definitely seen some people just blow it up and explode with what it is that they're doing with their real estate photography business, and others have struggled. And so, we added these stats at the request of some of our loyal users who were wanting some more insights and data about their business. And so we thought that this webinar would be a great time to sort of unpack what they are, but then also how they can be used, and how the people that have asked for them and the businesses that we've gotten to know over the years have made the most out of these stats. So I think it's important to note that not everybody's business is at the same place, and not everybody has the same goals for their business. So a lot of this information hopefully applies to most of the people that are tuned in today. But for those that are in a spot where they're pretty happy with how their business is running, they just want more visibility. I think just enjoy the ride. For those that are hungry and are looking to really grow, hopefully we'll unpack some great ideas that you'll be able to use to help accomplish your goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to get in. I'm gonna jump in first, and we'll go through. You guys are gonna get about a half and half today, about half of Ian and half of Herb, and it should be a pretty good time. And if there's not some banter along the way, I'm gonna be pretty
Well, at
disappointed.
least one half is going to be good, and we'll let the audience decide which half it
Yeah,
is.
Yeah, the
yeah,
vote's at the end,
yeah.
folks.
Vote in the question section there.
Shay's taking odds through the questions, right?
Uh,
All right. Well, let's get it going. Let's do it.
Yep.
So, Happy New Year, everybody. We're in 2024. If you haven't thought about it yet, now is a little late, but still okay. Better late than never, right? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Second best time is right now. Treat your goals that way. So if you haven't made your plans yet for 2024, what do you want to do with your business? Give it some thought today. That's really what we're going to be talking about and moving around. You want to be thinking, where do you want your business to go? What do you want it to do? As Herb mentioned, not everybody's in the same spot. Not everybody wants the same things out of their business, depending on where it's at. And that's okay. So we're talking about growth today. We're talking about some ways that we've seen people achieve it and how they've used those numbers. But, apply what we're talking about to your own business the way that you want. We're not going to tell you how to run your business. We're really just going to say, hey, these are some ways that you can do it, and we hope that it helps you. We're lucky enough to see a lot of different businesses and have some of that insight. So the very first thing when we start talking about goals is it's pretty hard to set up a goal when you don't know what your numbers are. So knowing your numbers, this is the widget that we added to the dashboard recently. For those of you who may not have the revenue line, I'm going to call that out really early. If you go over to business in your account and then business details, scroll down, you'll see a dashboard settings. There's a spot for you to put in goals. Just add a revenue number in there and it'll pop up on your account. So a couple things about these metrics that we added here. Wanted to call out a few pieces. So we've got the bars, right? The kind of bars of color that are filling up here. So in this case, once the color gets all the way up, it means that it's met the goal. So this one's just a little bit shy. I'm pretty sure the goal's at 40,000, just a little bit shy of that. You might see this kind of hint, this little hint line right over here. That's the numbers of where you were last year. So if you've been using our platform for more than a year, thank you, first of all. And secondly, you've got some good data in there that you can work off of. So that little line there is going to tell you, what did I do last year? Also, handy little fact, if you click any of these circles, they'll flip over and show you more info. There's a little screenshot of that later on in here. Same thing with the trend lines. You can click on those trend lines and they'll give you a little bit more information as well. Okay, the last piece, and probably one of the most noteworthy things here on the actual widget is this arrow. So this arrow is indicating time. So as you go through the month, that arrow moves, and where you're at, right? We're almost towards the end of the month here today. And as that arrow gets up to the top, that's the very, very end of the month. So when you're ahead of your goal, you're going to notice that the colored line is ahead of it, right? Ahead of the arrow. And when you're behind the goal, like this one over here, a little bit under, right? We need to get a couple more clients. We need to get like a quarter of a client to get that piece there, right? Not exactly possible to do, but when you get that next one, it's going to bump up and get past that line. The main thing is that, the main reason why I say that this piece is so important is you set your goals. In this case, it may have been 15 first-time customers, and we're almost there. It's the end of the month. It's the 29th. We're looking at it and we're going, oh man, we're just barely behind that number. What can we do to catch up? And in this case, it's great because we're really close. We're going to be able to achieve it, and we're towards the end of the month. But what happens when you're a week in? You're a week into the month, and you see that your progress so far is right here, and that line's like way over here, right? You're going, oh man, I'm way behind. Something needs to change. Either I haven't spent as much time doing the things that I wanted and planned to do that I thought would impact those numbers. The things that I've been doing haven't been as impactful as I was hoping. So it gives you an opportunity in real time to try to say, hey, I need to do something different. What can I do to impact these numbers that I'm not doing right now because I want to reach these goals that I set? Right? The whole point of setting these goals is to kind of push yourself and to get out there and reach them and do it because you want to. And these are on your dashboard, the page where you log in every single day, so that you can check in on them and see them and make sure that you know what those numbers are, because it's just so important overall. Okay, so now that I've got all of that off of my chest about what's going on with the widgets and how important it is and make sure you're paying attention, let's get into a little bit more. So I didn't talk much on here. So what is this average order value, right? So average order value is simply just the revenue that you had in the month divided by the number of orders placed. That's going to give you your average order value. Your average client value is going to take the revenue that you have by the number of clients that you have worked with. So your ordering clients here, that's going to be unique clients that have ordered in this period, in this month. So worked with 72 clients, $36,000. The average client value ends up being $510. If you kind of look at this overall, so if you look and say, there's been 141 orders, my average value is about $260, and you see that this is about $210. You can tell almost each of those clients on average are ordering 2 shoots. Not quite, right? A little bit different, but you can kind of feel that out to get a sense of, where am I at with my clients? Who, you guys already know who your best clients are. You already know who your high volume people are. But on average, what are people doing? Why does that matter? Because you can take and start to work backwards with some of those averages as you go. So let's go ahead and move forward here, right? So measurable goals. Measurable is the key word, right? So on your dashboard, you guys can see this. It's really clear. You can set a number and you can know where you're at. Goals that aren't measurable are really tough because you don't know Am I doing it or not? You don't know what the score is. It's like playing a basketball game and not keeping score. Who's winning? I don't know. It's hard to tell. But when you can measure them, it really makes a difference. So make sure that the goals that you're setting are measurable. And obviously, we're going to encourage you to use the goals and metrics and things that we set up here. I hope you have other goals that are outside of some of these too, and you find a way to measure them. Just make sure that when you're setting your goals, you're making sure there's something that you can measure and they're set to a time frame. We've got everything in this case set to 1 month period. That way you get a reset 12 times a year and say, all right, I didn't make it that month. I'm going to do it the next, or I crushed it this month. Maybe I could push myself even further on the next month. Like, what is it that I can do? But at the end of the day, the reason why it's so important to measure is that those are the results you get. Those are the things that you care about. When you're checking in and saying, hey, where's my revenue? Probably most of you guys already knew where that one was. I'm not going to lie. But hey, how many unique clients did I have work with me last month? How many first-time clients did I have work with me last month? These are things that when you're watching them and you set your goals for them, you're going to find yourself when you're out driving in between shoots, or you're putting together a marketing piece, or you're just working on your business. These things are going to be in the back of your mind because you see them every day and you're paying attention to them. You say, hey, did I make it? How could I get more? Why did I have so many this month? What happened that went so right? Yeah, you get where you measure, guys. Pay attention. Pay attention to what you care about in your business, because it's going to come back to you. All right. So at this point, you might be saying, okay, this is cool, Ian. I really want to set some goals and I want to figure it out, but I just have no idea where to start. I haven't really been paying attention. I'm not sure. As I mentioned, you can click those circles on your dashboard and they will flip over. They will show you where you were last year if you've been with us more than a year. These other three also get the trend line exposed, so you can hover on those, click them, and they'll give you more information as well. I wouldn't recommend always just looking at last year to say, all right, I looked at last year, this year I want to do better. But if you really are feeling like, gosh, I just don't know where to start, it's an okay place to go and start and get a feel for it, right? But at the end of the day, think about what you want to impact. You want to impact your bottom line? All right, how can you add more revenue? And do you know kind of where your profit margin is, so you know how much you need to add? That's what I really want to get to in my segment is, how can you set some goals and then work backwards to know how to get there? So in this case, I'm going to say, hey, let's look at this. Let's look at, what do we want to do if we want more revenue? What would we need to do? What are some of the metrics that we can move around to get that? So you can use your numbers to get to that spot, right? You know how many orders, but some of the most important ones on here are they're going to be your averages, because they're going to really help you work backwards to figure out, what do I need to do to reach what I want, right? Like, whether you kind of look at this and feel like it's connected or not, they actually are, right? The more clients that you have ordering, we just kind of showed, right? Your average order value. So the higher that average order is times the number of orders, going to be higher revenue. If you get more orders, more revenue, right? Same idea with the average client value. Again, I kind of talked about this already. When you get in here and you go, okay, so it's the average client value is really just my ordering clients times that equals revenue, right? We can do the math to get to those numbers. So what does it look like if we want to kind of solve this backwards, right? Like, I'm going to try to stay away from doing way too much math for you guys, right? I'm trying to keep it super simple overall, but you can work backwards to get to these numbers. So what do we already know? We know what our average client value is. We know what our average order value is. That's important to know. We know what we want our revenue to be. So in this example, I'm going to say, hey, let's try to get our February revenue up to 45,000. And maybe I flip the graph on February 1st and I see that that's actually what I did last year, and I want to bump it up higher. That's okay. Just take a look, but like, pick a number, right? Pick a number for the month and come in and say, all right, what do I need to do to get to that number? You could just do a simple math equation. Take the revenue that you want to get to, divide it by your average client value, and that's going to tell you how many ordering clients you need, right? It really is that easy. So you can plug in those numbers that you have. So if we take 45,000, that's our revenue goal. That's a number that we know. We take our average client value, 510, again, number we know. What do we get? We get 88.22 clients. So let's call it 88. As I mentioned earlier, it's tough to get that quarter of a client to order. So, all right. That's it, guys. That's it. So we do that. We plug in those numbers. We say, okay, so we need 88 clients. So then you can kind of look at this and say, all right, we had 72. We've got our first time clients this month. We're 13. Okay, what do we do? Go in and just think about how many first time clients do you need to get to move that number up, right? So in this case, as I was looking, I said, I think we'll probably need about 13 new clients to do that. That's going to give me my total of 88 active clients. And that's going to get me in the ballpark of that 45,000 in revenue that I want. So, I mean, that's all there is to it. You have to know your numbers. You have to think about, what do I want? Envision your outcomes. Get to that spot where you're paying attention to them. And then use your numbers to work backwards and set your goals, right? You just take those numbers, do some quick math, and you say, hey, here's where my goals are. I really hope that you guys find this helpful in just being able to say, hey, there's different ways that I can go about this. So now the more fun piece, I feel like, right? Like setting goals is one thing, achieving them is something that is totally different. For that, I'm going to kick it over to Herb, and he's going to get into how can you take these goals that you've set up and put together a plan to be able to actually reach them and achieve them. Take it away, Herb.
All right, thanks, Ian. All right, so Ian went through the math. Now we got to talk about how we get there. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is increasing the average order value compared to the adding new clients. So, I mean, we're about to throw a bunch of ideas at you, and don't feel like you have to do them all. In fact, it's probably better not to try to do everything. But we're just going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at you, and the things that resonate, great, take them, use them. The things that you feel like are not a good fit for you, just skip them. That's totally fine. But one of the things that I want to begin with is sort of acknowledging the fact that businesses go through a life cycle, right? When you're in startup mode, you are all about adding new clients, because like every dollar, you just got to scrape and scratch to get every order, every customer. So you take everything and do everything that you can. As the business grows, it begins to mature, and it doesn't happen all overnight. It's not like it just switches all at once. But over time, you start to get a reputation for being good at certain things. And as a result of that, you start to narrow your focus into a certain type of client. And when you do that, when you get into those later stages or those more mature stages of the business, you can start to focus on things like increasing your average order value, where you're sort of tweaking and refining, but you've got kind of a system down. So some of these ideas are focused on how to increase the value of each individual order. Some of these are on how to get new customers. At the end of the day, though, keep in mind that really every business needs to be doing some amount of adding new, even if your business is pretty established and you've got a pretty good loyal customer base. There is a certain amount of turnover that always happens in real estate. And as a result of that, you're going to need to be adding some new, along the way as you go. So, all right, so let's talk about how you go about increasing your average order value, AOV, average order value. So I'm going to touch on 4 categories here. The first one is sort of the low-hanging fruit. This is make sure that you're offering all of the, quote, big 4 services. So photography, videography, drone, and floor plans. And for clarity, floor plans is actually a pretty wide umbrella of its own. That can mean something as simple as just a simple drawing of a floor plan that they give you, maybe a sketch, or you measure, maybe use a tool like Cubby Casa, but it also would include things like 3D services such as Matterport or iGuide, or the other services similar to that. So here's the thing about the big 4 services. these categories, so not every listing is going to need all of these things, but as somebody that offers all of them, you make sure that if anybody you've built a relationship with, any real estate agent that you've built a relationship with ever does need any of these services, they would stay with you. You never want to drive them into the arms of another lover, right? So you want to make sure that you're offering all of the things that people might want to add, so that when that agent does get that surprise luxury listing that's outside of their normal, you've got what they need in order to take care of them. The other thing is, it's frankly easy to upsell, because once you've got those things on your menu, even if the listing isn't super luxury, agents like to experiment sometimes, and they also like to find ways to please a seller. And if they need to promise, if a seller is telling them during, when they're meeting with them before they sign the listing agreement, and the seller communicates that a video is really important to them, you want them to be able to know that you offer that service and that they can just place that order with you. So this is low-hanging fruit. A shockingly low percentage of the people that use our platform do offer all of these services, but the most successful businesses that use our platform do offer all four of these services in some way, shape, or form. So so this is the low-hanging fruit. If you're not doing it, consider it. Okay, so next up, let's talk about packages. So when it comes to packages, think about your experience walking into a fast food restaurant. Some restaurants offer an a la carte menu, but a lot of the fast food restaurants will say, just give me a number 3, right? And so what is the thinking behind that? So by packaging multiple services up together and offering it as one product, it makes it a lot easier for people to just pick a package and go with it, rather than going through all of the individual options. And, frankly, there's a lot of options, right? When you're setting up your shopping cart, a lot of the people that use our platform do have quite a few products and quite a few offerings that they make available. And that can be overwhelming, but you want to make sure all those things are available to your customers so that they can order what they want. So a great way to simplify that and make it easy is by putting together packages. Now, there's something else magical about packages, and that has to do with the fact that people make an assumption that what you're packaging together is what's most commonly ordered. And so there's a social proof dimension that helps you raise your average order value, because so many times agents just come and they're like, just give me the photos. I'm just trying to get this on the MLS. I just want to move on with my life. But by presenting them with packages, it creates a certain amount of social pressure around the fact that additional services really are the norm. Now, when it comes to packages, there's this really important thing where you use 3 packages. It's the power of 3. And what you want to do is offer 3 options. Now, here's the way that this breaks down. And you'll, once you hear this, if you aren't already familiar with this concept, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Most companies have realized that if they provide you with 3 options, then most people pick the middle option. And it's almost more like an illusion of choice, where you're giving people a simplified way to pick, but 3 seems to be the magic number. So if you're currently only offering 2 packages or 2 levels, basically, of like, well, there's the main thing, and then there's the cheap, quick that people that are doing a low price listing do, you need to add a 3rd. And the reason is what's called framing. So framing is where a person sort of sets an anchor in the ground in terms of what the range is going to be. And so by having a high-priced premium product, that suddenly makes the middle thing seem middle, which I guess is sort of obvious, but and the low thing seem low. Most of the time, when 3 options are presented, 80% of the orders will come in at the middle. 5% on the high side and 15% on the low side. But if there's only two options, you end up with 80% on the low and 20% on the high. So that high-priced product package reframes people's thinking of, well, okay, so this is not a super high-end listing. There is a higher level than where I want to be. That's there, but this isn't, but I'm not cheap. It gives them that lane down the center that they can take. And so there's a couple things about that you really want to consider. The first thing is that for that framing effect to work best, you want the highest priced product to be listed first. Most people by default actually start low and go to high. It's just sort of how our brain works, that we tend to think that you start small and go big. You know, when you're sorting things alphabetically, you start at the low side of the alphabet and go up. When we count, we start low and go up. But when it comes to packages, you want to put the highest one first, because that will set the reference point to the high point, and it makes that middle package look a lot more affordable. So for those of you that have packages in your shopping carts already, double check that order. It's a simple thing to just drag those things around and change the order. And you might be surprised. It actually has a surprising impact on increasing the number of medium priced orders. The other thing about this that you want to think about is, because of the fact that that medium level, that center package, is the one that gets ordered the most, you want to make sure you've got a really good margin in that product, in that package. Don't save your highest margin for that top one, because you're not going to sell a ton of them, but you are going to sell a lot of the middle ones. So make sure that you're really comfortable with the amount of margin that you're getting, that if you've got photographers working for you, that they're going to be really happy by getting a large number of those orders, that the amount of money that they're making from that keeps them happy and keeps them excited about working with you and for you. But particularly when you're adding products to the package and you're deciding, if you don't have packages today, when you're deciding what to put in it, think about adding something that's pretty high margin for you, and because that's going to translate to the best to your bottom line. Okay, so let's move on to marketing your services. So this is kind of a fun one, because it's kind of low-hanging fruit. So when you're in a home doing a photo shoot and the agent is there, one of the main things that you're going to want to do is make sure that they know about all your services. And you know, it's easy to take that for granted. It's easy to think that they know all the things that you have to offer, but it's such an easy conversation about to strike up with an agent about, hey, have you ever thought about adding drones? I mean, the best thing to do is try to do an upsell if it makes sense for the home that you're in. If you're in a home that's waterfront property, for example, or there's a bunch of acreage involved, that's a great time to suggest a drone shoot if you've got your drone in the car with you. But if you've got an agent that has a lot of charisma, I would recommend a video shot for them. They're going to look great on that video. You're going to help elevate their brand, and so always asking them if it makes sense for that particular listing. It's always great to offer that. But even beyond that, even if they say no, you also accomplish the goal of making sure that they are aware that that's a service that is available in your list of products. So maybe it's a no today, but you want to make sure that you're planting that seed for any future listings. This is also a great time to ask agents if they have any upcoming listings that it might be appropriate for. So if they say, "No, I don't think we want to do the drone on this," you can just turn around and ask them, "Do you have any upcoming listings where a drone shoot might be appropriate?" And that does a couple of things. Number one, it gets the wheels turning for them to be looking for that in the future. Even if they don't have any upcoming listings right now, you want them, when they're in the home or when they're first meeting the potential sellers, you want them thinking about, is this a good home to add a drone or a video shoot or a 3D tour? So, planting those seeds is really, really helpful. Another one that is kind of that I think was a surprise to us when we learned about this trick was everybody's got those handful of agents that text you directly or call you directly to schedule. And what they're trying to do is they're excited. They just got that new listing. Hey, are you available on Tuesday? What you want to do is tell them, oh, you know what? I don't have my calendar in front of me. I'm actually out at another shoot right now. Or you don't even have to give them a reason. I don't have my calendar right in front of me. The best thing to do is just go online and hit my order form and schedule there. That's got my real-time schedule in it. And you can see what all my availability is right there. Number one benefit is if you can't, hopefully over time, you can train these agents to place their own orders. And so that's less distracting. But the second benefit, and this was the sneaker, this is the one that we didn't realize until we started hearing this feedback from users of our platform, is that people started ordering more. Because by going to the order form, they actually saw all of the options. The agents that were just calling and saying, oh, just come out and do a photo shoot, they didn't stop to think about all the other things that were available. But since the order form presents them with those options, especially with these fancy new packages you're about to add, then now they're going to probably purchase more. And we've seen that. We've seen a measurable increase in the average order value as more agents, particularly those ones that like high service, order through the order form instead of just making that direct phone call. I'd also, this is also a great time just to point out the fact that it's okay to do social media marketing and to promote your services, particularly anything new that you're offering. And it really can be very powerful, social media marketing, paid social media marketing. If that's not something that you're super excited about or love doing, you don't necessarily have to do a post every day or every week per se, but having some kind of regular cadence of posting is good. And if you don't want to do it, this is actually something we've been seeing lately is more and more photography business owners are hiring a virtual assistant to help with their social media marketing. So that's a great opportunity to outsource something, and it isn't that expensive because it doesn't take a lot of time. All right, so let's touch on the last item in raising your order value, average order value, and that's raising your prices. This can be a little bit of a touchy issue. Some people really don't like raising their prices, and they've left their prices at the same place for a really long time. And we hear comments like, well, it's really tough out there. Listings are low, so I don't want to gouge my agents. The reality is that prices have gone up on everything. They've gone up on gas, they've gone up on food and everything. So if you haven't done any price increases for a number of years, we're still early in the year, and it's not too late to use language like, oh, we updated our price list for 2024. And by doing that, you're doing a good job of setting a line in the sand and telling the agent, this isn't something we do all the time, but this is our 2024 price list. We had to get current. So it kind of plays it off that way. When it comes to raising your prices, there's this really cool thing called the rule of 12%. So with the 12% rule, what that means is there's been a bunch of research about this, and what they've determined through whoever they is, the people that run studies, what they've determined is that if you raise your price by up to 12%, the vast majority of your customers will just pay the increase. They may complain, they may make a comment, but they'll just pay it. If it's over 12%, then you're running in the risk of them reevaluating you as a vendor. So 2 things to think about as far as this goes. Number 1, I like to stay a little under that magic breakpoint of 12. So 10% feels like a pretty good spot to be for raising your price. it's actually because of this rule and because of the way that the psychology behind seeing a price increase. One of the things that you may want to consider is, rather than only raising your prices once every 5 years, but doing it by a big leap, like 20, 25%, maybe consider doing it by a smaller amount, but doing it every year. And in the winter time is a great time to do that because the total volume is down. You put a little distance between the busy seasons and the busier times of the year. And so people tend to not be as upset when they see a price increase when they just bought it at a lower price last week. If it was a couple months ago, then they tend not to be as upset about it. Yeah, so I think that is it for that. Oh, sorry, one last thing on raising your prices that I wanted to mention. There's more than one way. You don't have to necessarily do an across the board raise of your prices. You can raise the price of certain products. But another way to do it is to start charging for something that you had previously given away for free. So my favorite example of this is a rush fee. So if you have a standard where your services that you're offering, you say that you're going to have these things turned around first thing in the morning tomorrow. If you shoot on Monday, Tuesday morning, you're going to have your photos. Some agents, that's really important, and others it's not. And so what you can do if you are nervous about raising your prices is just break that out as an add-on or an upsell. And so you can leave the price for the photo shoot the same, but then say, oh, it's going to be an extra $20 if you want them first thing in the morning. Otherwise, we'll have them for you the afternoon of the following day. And so the reason for doing this is you're bifurcating out your clients into two groups. You're separating them into the people who are price sensitive and the people who are time sensitive. And so by doing that, you're able to raise your prices for the people who value that extra thing. And you're not raising your prices for people who, if people are particularly price sensitive, they just have to wait a little bit longer to get their photos. This is also a great tactic to bring in, not only to raise your price, but also as you grow and as you get busy, you might find that getting those photos turned around first thing the next morning was fairly easy when you were just getting started. But once you hit into the busy season and as your business has matured, you find that that's actually causing a lot more friction than you thought. This is a great way to separate out those two groups of people and sort of get some of your time back under control. All right, so let's move on to the next category, which is how do you add customers? How do you add clients to your list? So the first thing that I want to talk about here is defining your target. And this is actually a step that a lot of people skip because I don't know, they just don't realize how powerful this particular step is. But clarity is important. So defining your target is about asking, who do you like to work with? Now, this can mean a couple of things, and it depends on your business, depends on how you run your business and what kind of business you're trying to build. For some people, who do you like to work with is who they like to work with are agents who are very friendly and very easy to get along with. And for others, it's agents that are doing a lot of volume. So you have to decide who it is that you want, sort of what that ideal customer looks like. Who's that sort of perfect character, right? And a great way to do that is to look at your existing client base and ask yourself, honestly, who are the people that you like working with the most? And who are the people that you maybe aren't as excited when you see their name come across your phone as having just placed an order? And so that's a great guide for thinking of, for starting to define what your ideal customer looks like. But do put some deliberate thought into why. is it that I like working with this person and I don't like working with that person? Is it the something to do with the amount of time on site? Is it something to do with the amount of customer service that I end up doing? Is it something to do with the gratitude that they show for the work that you're doing? Whatever it is, it's great to identify those characteristics so that you can go find more of the kinds of people that you do want to work with. So, and speaking of that, that kind of leads right into this idea of more volume equals higher average client value. So not every client is made the same. Not every client is equal, right? You've got some agents that get like 4 or 5 listings a year. So they're really only worth about half a client to you if they're only going to get in like one order every couple of months. On the other hand, there are those types of companies, those types of agents that do a tremendous volume. And so I think a great way to think about this is I like to put people into a couple categories. One of them is agents that are luxury agents. So this is who everybody seems to go for when they first get started. Who are those high profile agents driving the fanciest car? They got the biggest billboards. And everybody knows that if there's going to be a multi-million-dollar listing, that's probably who's going to get it, right? And those are great clients. They can be phenomenal clients, especially because they will tend to make a larger purchase. That since lots of services is kind of how those agents tend to build their business. That can be good, but that is a personality type that can be more demanding, right? More detail oriented. And so while you're getting orders that are often a higher ticket price, maybe the amount of revenue per hour worked may not actually be as great as as with some other types of agents. There's also individual agents, which are just an agent by themselves that's trying to make a living. Those are great. Those end up being great referral sources. And then there's also teams. And so teams are the agent who has built up a small group of people to work with them. And those are the people that are very systematic, right? So they've got lots of systems in place for organizing a listing through their pipeline and through their process. They invest a lot in transaction management. They make sure that they have specialists for each of the phases of the life cycle of the real estate transaction. And those are going to be volume customers. So teams can be great if you want to do a lot of volume. They can be really consistent, and they also tend to be the types of business of customers that stay busy even when the market is down. Individuals are great because they do a great referral business, and many of them are trying to grow into a team. And so if you can become part of their marketing team early on, then as they grow, you grow, which is great. And then the luxury agents can be great also because the individual agents tend to follow what the luxury agents do. So just having them as a client tends to get you a lot of follower agents as clients. But pick the one that makes the most sense to you and be deliberate about it. Be deliberate about what type of business you're trying to build and who is a good profile for that. All right, so let's talk about marketing to your target, and I think this is a really interesting one. So earlier we talked about defining your target. Now that you have a general idea of who that is, now it's time to make that specific. So what you want to do is make a list, and I think that having that target list helps sort of clarify and focus what it is that you're trying, your efforts, right? So the idea here is you want a list of 10 names, people that you aren't working with right now, but you would like to be working with. And those are the names that you are going to be super excited if that name comes up on your caller ID, right? But it's good to have that list written down someplace so that you know who those people are, and then let your brains sort of behind the scenes thought process work on how to get you in front of that those agents. And so a couple strategies for that. Are you working with any agents that are in the same office as those target agents? If so, asking them for a referral or an introduction is a great way to get a nice warm lead. Another thing to do is watch for when that agent is doing an open house. For the agents that are really out there hustling and working at growing their business, and even the ones with teams, a lot of them will work open houses on weekends from time to time. And but even if it's not the agent themselves, if it's a team member, it's great to go to that open house and introduce yourself to them. You definitely don't want to get in the way when they've got somebody that's potentially a buyer that they can be talking with. But if you wander in there and there's nobody else in there and the agent's just sitting around, they got nothing else to do, nobody else to talk to, it's a great time to go introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about your business and your story and how you're trying to grow and how you'd love to help them grow their business and achieve their goals also. This is also a great time when you're trying to figure out how to sort of get going, get the flywheel spinning with one of these new agents. One of the tactics that we've heard a lot of people use is offer a free photo shoot. You don't want to get in the habit of doing that all the time, and I wouldn't recommend doing it through any kind of mass marketing. But if you're standing face to face with one of those target agents, then why not take any excuse they have for giving you a shot off the table and do a free photo shoot for them and show them what it is that you can do to help them grow their business. So yeah, I think the free photo shoot is a good strategy. Here again, also when it comes to going after that target list, social media is a great avenue. There's a lot of ways that you can leverage virtual assistants to help you with that. When you're building a audience for paid social media marketing, you can get really targeted with that stuff. You can put a list of 10 or 20 email addresses or websites into the audience and target them, and it doesn't take a lot of money to get to really hit that small of a target audience. So that's a great way to start building up your reputation in the minds of the people whom you want to have as customers.
Here, before you move on from that,
yeah,
when you're thinking about building that target list, right? One of the things that you're doing is you're putting together those names, and you kind of know that, hey, these are people that I'm like. What recommendations, when they're trying to think of, okay, I'm going to run some ads to them, or okay, I want to somehow try to target them or be where they are. How do you make sure that message lands with your target audience? Do you have anything that you kind of go through, that you plan for, that you think about?
Yeah, I think you want them to see your work, so that's really important. But one of the things that we found with social media marketing is that social proof is really the best use of social media. So somebody that person would respect that has left you a Google review, or that you can cite in a testimonial, can be really powerful. So I think you do have to be somewhat careful, because there is some agent rivalry in certain marketplaces, where there's certain companies that just hate other companies for whatever reason. So you do need to have some awareness about some of those potholes that you want to miss in the road. But the more you can build social proof, because here's the thing, a real estate agent, particularly somebody that is pretty established, is going to be very cautious about their reputation in the marketplace. And so they aren't going to want to take a risk with somebody that may or may not be any good. When you step into a home on behalf of an agent or a client, one of the things that you are doing is you're representing them, right? And so if that homeowner has a bad experience because maybe you had a bad day or something like that, any new photographer brings with it a certain amount of risk with a relationship that really matters to this agent. So to give them the comfort that you're going to do well in the home, testimonials are the way to go. And actually, one of the best sources for that is cultivating testimonials from homeowners, not necessarily from other agents. That you have to do with the permission of the agent and work with the agent to gather that testimonial. But if for whatever reason, if you have a customer that says something like, "Oh my gosh, my sellers absolutely loved the photos that you took," jump on that. See if you can get them to allow you to quote them on that. See if the agent is comfortable with connecting you with that homeowner so that you can get their permission to quote them. And then maybe go back out and take a photo of them next to the sold sign when the home sells, and use that as part of the social media marketing. All right, so last thing in this category is repeat business, and we've actually kind of touched on some of these things, but because it's so important how you represent the agent when you are in the home, you got to make sure that the experience is fantastic. So particularly that first photo shoot, when you get into that home, you need to make sure that they have it's just everything just goes perfect, right? So that means that the photos need to look really good. Yes, that's sort of a given and sort of obvious. You might spend a little more time or just put a little more effort into post-processing, or checking in with, double checking if you're using an outsourced solution for your photo editing. That's sort of a given, but I'd be particularly mindful of the experience in the home. Well, the agent is probably not going to send you in there by yourself on your first unsupervised on that first photo shoot. So you're going to want to make sure that you're on your very best behavior. If the homeowner has cats and dogs, even if you don't love cats or dogs, be a cat or dog lover, or at least treat them with respect, because those are beloved members of the family, right? You want to make sure that you're smiling a lot, and really that the entire experience is very, very positive. That goes a long way. You never get a second chance to make that first impression.
Yeah, right. You guys know this stuff. These are right. Like we're bringing up a lot of things that you do naturally, right? Like have great photos. You're growing your business because you do give a great experience, and we know that. We just feel like when you've got that list of 10 people that you really want to see that name come up, like you just know you gotta be thinking about it, and you want to deliver that great experience.
Yeah, and just generally as it relates to earning repeat business, I'll say it again, asking about upcoming listings. You want to get sort of that mental bookmark in the minds of that agent if they do have any listings that are upcoming, so that they associate you with that listing. If they tell you that they've got something coming up, they're probably going to tell you where it's located, what part of town. It's a great time to reflect back some excitement about, oh, that sounds really cool. I can't wait to get out there and shoot it, so that you can sort of lock that future order in. So let's wrap up, and we'll head over to Q&A here in just a minute. So just to reiterate on the measuring, make sure that you measure throughout the month. Ian did mention this earlier, but keeping track of the race between the little triangle and the colored bar, and who's winning there. You don't have to wait till the end of the month to say, oh, we missed it, or hey, we killed it. You can throughout the month keep a close eye on that, and course correct if needed, to make sure that you're on track to your goals. And along those lines, I would encourage anyone listening to set yourself up with an accountability buddy. That can be a business partner if you have one, or if you're a solo operator, think about who that could possibly be. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's a sibling, or just a friend. I wouldn't recommend it being one of your clients, but somebody in your life that you can share some of these things with, that's excited for the progress. For me, it's my wife. She has no idea what the numbers that we track mean, but she knows when we're hitting them and when we're not. And she knows that if we're falling behind, that I'm probably gonna be a little more grumpy than if we're killing it. And so I'm a better husband and a father when we're hitting our goals. So she keeps an eye on it, and she pays attention, and she celebrates with me when we hit our goals. So whoever that is in your life, bring them in, and because here's the deal, from an accountability standpoint, a lot of people hear that word accountability and they think of something very negative, right? They think of it as getting hit with a stick whenever you fall behind. But it's more about celebrating the successes than it is beating yourself up over the negatives. And successes are always more fun to celebrate when you have somebody to share them with. So when somebody else can encourage you, and you can see that they are excited for your success, that's great. Now, if you don't have anybody else to share with, the other thing that's really fun to do is get yourself into a mastermind group. We had another session long ago that we did on doing mastermind groups with another group of real estate photographers. So if just plant that seed, I'll just plant that seed right here. If you're not part of a mastermind group and you need some community in this journey, which can sometimes feel very lonesome, that's a great way to do it. But as the quote that we've got up here, a dream is just a dream. A goal is a dream with a plan and a deadline. So you want to set a goal and you want to set a deadline. This is what we want to hit by the end of the month. And as you're targeting that, one last thing that I want to end on, and that is making sure that you're focusing on the things that you can control. So we live in a world where there's a lot of chaos and a lot of crazy things. And sometimes bad things happen that affect our businesses. Sometimes that's literally the weather, but sometimes it's other things in the environment like interest rates. And so we can be mad, we can shake our fist at the sky, and all of those things. But at the end of the day, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, you know this, what we do is adapt and overcome. And so to do that, what we need to focus on are the things that are in our locus of control. And from these goals, we've tried to put the things that you control the most on the left and move to the right with things that are more the results that cascade down. So if you're trying to get more revenue, you need more clients ordering. And the way you get more clients ordering is you get more first-time clients. So if you're not sure where to begin, set a goal on how many new friends that you want to make and add to your client list in each month. Set that goal on the left and focus on that one the hardest, because the rest theoretically and hopefully should just sort of come as a result. They should sort of naturally flow from those first time clients.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So last thing is that as we wrap up, is we've just thrown a lot of stuff at you, a lot. We know that there may be some changes that you want to make in your shopping cart experience, in setting your goals and so on. Our customer service team is standing by and ready to go to help. But like something that you may or may not know is that a lot of you are preparing for the new year, preparing for that spring market that's right around the corner. And so as a consequence of that, we're getting a lot of calls and a lot of chats right now for people trying to make those last minute changes to their shopping cart, get everything all dialed in. Maybe after this webinar, there's going to be more people that are going to want to add packages or make other modifications in their shopping cart. We are here to help, and we're happy to do so. We are also getting a lot of it right now. So please be patient with us, but we will do our best to help make sure everyone gets their account dialed in so that their order form works exactly how they want it to, and so that you can increase your average order value, and so that you can increase your number of clients and orders, and hopefully you will reach your goals and achieve your dreams.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Herb. Great job. Appreciate it. Always love the psychology stuff. It's so fun to think about. And And it's probably even more fun to see it work and go, man, that is just so crazy. We all think we're so different as humans, but at the end of the day, sometimes we're not. All right, Shae, there's some cool questions out there for people to ask. You got some good
Yeah.
ones?
Yeah, I had a couple of kind of reoccurring ones. First of all, thank you everybody for the lively chat session. That was a ton of fun. A lot of rapid fire stuff coming in. Some off topic, which that was exciting too. Keep me on my toes. But we had a few questions that came up, I would say pretty frequently. One of them was how would I set a goal for each month? So people seem to be, you can set a goal on, for each. There's one goal number, and they were just kind of curious, like how would you do that if you had goals already set up for each month of the year? How would you put that in the system?
So I would recommend that you just create a spreadsheet and keep track of those. The reason that we didn't set the system up so that we put a whole year worth of goals all the way out into the future is because we've actually found that the most effective thing to do is reevaluate every month. Because if you do a whole year worth of goals and then you miss them every month because you were too bullish, too aggressive, and something happens that creates more friction there, it can be kind of demoralizing. So it actually is, I think it's the best approach to actually not get too far ahead of yourself. If you want to do that, if you're a planner, you like to go far ahead, put them in a spreadsheet and just make it part of your normal routine on the first of the month to go in and put in the new month, carry it into the system, and use that as a target.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah. The other one, and Ian, you may have covered this in more depth. These questions may have came in prior to you clarifying this, but a few people had some confusion on what counts as a first-time client in that the first metric graphic that you had.
Yeah, so first time client on the dashboard is going to be their very first order. So they can only count as a first time client one time ever in their history with you. So once they place that first order, they're now considered a first time client on your metrics. And then next month, because you did such a good job in January on their shoot and they order again in February, they're just going to appear as one of your ordering clients because now they had their first time session in January. Now they're repeat and they're just an ordering client in February and for every month going forward. So those are your true very first, somebody with their first order.
And just to clarify, it has no bearing on when they sign up. So if you import a customer list from an office, for example, they don't count as first-time clients until they make that purchase. Yep. Then they count in the month that they make their first purchase. Because they aren't a client until their money, right?
Yep. Perfect. Thanks for the clarification, Herb.
I'd say that's all I got for I guess generally interesting questions. Everything else was pretty specific, account specific. So I think those are the two that people would have or gain the most from answering. So thank you guys.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for holding down the question for it, Shae. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's always fun after the webinar. I get to go back and read through and see what's going on in there. So I'll get to see all the people that said, "Oh yeah, Herb's presentation was way better."
Yeah, it was all about.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Herb, thank you for joining us on the webinar today and spending some time talking about that. For everybody out there, thank you for participating, jumping in, asking your questions. We really value your business. We listen to your feedback. We try to add the things that are going to help you get out there and find more success in your business. And, we added these metrics and we really wanted to get in there and have a chance to kind of talk about some of the why and just kind of lay out what we've seen and what we've talked with other businesses on how they're doing their goal setting and how this ends up being important and helps them move forward. So thank you all very much. I hope you have a great week and we'll see you on the next webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.